Karen Masullo, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for this, the second session in our 2018 Crisis Coach webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about predictive insights, looking for clues in advance of a crisis. And again, I do appreciate you taking the time from your day to join us. I'd like to invite you to connect with Firestorm. You can send us a message from our website at firestorm.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at Firestorm Sol. On Facebook, we're Firestorm Solutions. On YouTube, we are Continuity Experts. And on LinkedIn, we are Firestorm Solutions. The hashtag for social engagement is always #CrisisCoach. As always, this exercise is not complete without the accompanying oral comments and discussion. Any work product provided by Firestorm should be read in conjunction with all guidance given by your national, regional, and local authorities, as well as your organization's personal counsel. Moreover, the information given and comments made in this webinar should not be interpreted as legal advice or legal opinion. Firestorm helps you transform crisis into value, and we empower you to manage risk and crisis. Today, I'd like to thank the Tennessee Association of Independent Schools for our long supportive relationship. We'd like to thank Dr. Rich Martin, who is the Executive Director, and Jill, the Assistant Director. The Tennessee Association of Independent Schools supports you in education and, most importantly, in helping to develop and deliver resources to keep your students, your staff, and your people safer. Safety is our #1 concern with our students. And in light of the events of yesterday, I'd just like to take a moment and talk a little bit about the events in Florida yesterday. Today, we're going to be talking about predictive intelligence, and that is identifying behaviors of concern as they surface up using any tool possible in our toolbox. And as more details emerge, we're going to learn just a little bit more about the shooting that left 17 dead in the deadliest school shooting since Sandy Hook. I once asked Jim Satterfield what our greatest competitor was for a business, and he said denial. And I want everyone on this call, and those of you on this call, understand, I believe, by attending these sessions, that denial is not a plan. And so I want to thank you personally on behalf of your students and their families for doing everything you can to help keep them safer. And I just would like to applaud you for taking so seriously your role as an educator in this country. So thank you. I want to step back for just a moment and again mention that as by being a member of the Tennessee Association of Independent Schools or any independent school association, we have a couple of things that we can offer you to support you move forward in your goals. One of those, we have a program called Crisis Stop. It's underwritten by the Tennessee Association of Independent Schools. If you find yourself in any type of crisis for any type of reason, whether it's an incident of violence or a threat, or it could be something such as financial irregularities, you know there's a crisis that could occur, you have the ability to call us, and we will immediately enact our senior team to help you for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes, or for an hour, for up to an hour, to talk through what your next steps are in this crisis. Sometimes when you're in the middle of a crisis, especially if it's unfolding in a way you had not anticipated, which is the way of a crisis, you need a sounding board that is objective and experienced, and that's the key word. You need an experienced team who has seen this crisis and many variations of it to help you understand the next steps and also the steps to avoid. We've seen both sides of it. You never want your first crisis to be your crisis manager's first crisis. especially if you're the crisis manager. So let us help in that regard. We also have our behavioral risk threat assessment program. You can find out information on that on our website. We'll explain it all to you, what the licensing means, and we can help you implement a robust program for behavioral risk threat assessment that allows the compilation of material and analysis so that when someone exhibits behaviors of concern, such as this person did in Florida yesterday over a period of years, we're able to take action on those reports and have them be more than just pieces of paper in a file. So that's my announcement on that. And again, thank you. So we asked you when you registered for this session, we're talking about predictive intelligence, and I wanted to know from you if you do any monitoring. And I wanted to ask you, whose responsibility is it to do that monitoring? Well, 20% of you said, well, that's marketing. Well, those marketing people do that. They get us new students and parents, and that's why we're still here. And some of you said, well, it's really kind of our HR department's job. They monitor, or it's our school liaison officer, or someone who's kind of in that touchy-feely group over there. They handle that stuff. And then some of you said it was your security and security personnel. But really, about 50% of you just didn't know, or I don't know, some other group. And then we asked you how you use tools if you had them. And some of you said, well, we use them for threat identification. And others said, well, we do a little bit of marketing and threat identification. But again, about 50% of you just didn't know. Frankly, I don't know if you cared, because it's really not your area. So what we want to do is make it everyone's area. Predictive analytics is the use of data, statistical algorithms, and machine learning techniques. And it is used to identify the likelihood of future outcomes based upon historical data. Past behavior is a good predictor of future behavior. Now, this type of application of data and intelligence sort of bubbled up. First the scientists use it, and then somehow marketers get a hold of it, and marketers say, hey, we have new ways to analyze data and give our clients and our customers a highly personalized experience. We're able to acculturate our product to the specific needs of an individual user, and that's a powerful thing. In our case, we're going to take the same data that's unique to one particular individual or an organization, and we're going to monitor that behavior and build a profile of preferences that relate to potential behaviors of concern. And that's an important distinction. Predictive intelligence has its roots in the customization of the customer experience, but we're using it instead of selling people something. We're using it to keep people safer, and we can teach you how to do that. I want to couple this in with an announcement. If you get the Firestorm newsletter, there was a press release announcement today that Firestorm has acquired a couple of new companies. Our parent company, Novume, which is a Nasdaq traded company, has acquired a couple of companies that are now under the Firestorm umbrella. And I want to talk just really high level about these because it's empowering and exciting. The first, we are a crisis and risk solutions company. We work with major insurance companies and carriers all over the world to develop products and services to help mitigate damages should something ever occur. We have people solutions. We now have, through the acquisition of a company called BC Management, and some of the nicest people in the world, have brought on a team that has a database of some of the most highly trained security, continuity, and protection specialists in the world. Risk management, continuity, an incredible database. And through that, through our people solutions, where we can help you find the right people for the right job, or if you're looking, we can help you in that regard as well. Across from that, we also have analytical solutions, because when you have that much brain trust together, You really want to be able to analyze data that they can give you. So we have 6 major reports that we're going to be putting out a year, and that's based on analytical data and benchmarking against best of class, everything from event management, disaster crisis management, to compensation reports. We also have a professional services solutions division where we perform assessments, develop plans, and if any of you on the call today already have our behavioral risk threat assessment license, you know that that plan is a work of art. It is a beautiful program, and that is headed up by our professional services solutions EVP, Wendy Ruffcorn. We also have what I'm going to talk to you about today, our intelligence solutions, and across from that, to the bottom you'll see security solutions, and this is what we're really excited about, as well as our folks from BC Management. We have a team of highly trained former Secret Service personnel that are now a part of Firestorm. We are able to give your students the same presidential Secret Service oversight that our senior leadership in Washington, D.C. has had. Our new Chief Security Officer, Jason Russell, is a former Secret Service agent, as well as those on his team, and they are experts in predictive intelligence. So I tell you this so that you know when we implement these protective intelligence solutions that we're doing this because we have the full power of the training of the Secret Service behind us. And it allows you to know that no matter what happens in your organization, you can pick up the phone and you can call Firestorm and you're going to be able to get an answer. We have monitored more than 60 schools and school systems, and we have more than 100 monitoring engagements. We can work with a school with 30 or 40 schools through a school district, or an individual school with 100 students. And we understand your unique culture, your unique threats and risks, and can help you plan for any event. We've delivered more than 3,800 hours of training, both virtually and face-to-face, and that's a lot of hours. And we've helped cover more than 100,000, and I think it's more than that, students by geofencing and keyword monitoring, and that's what we're going to look at today, how that can help you mitigate risk. Let's talk just at a really high level about our intelligence solutions. What we're going to do today is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We're going to do a little mini exercise. I thought it would be interesting, and next month we're going to continue that. So this month we're going to talk about what happens when a situation bubbles up and you become aware of it. How do you make decisions, and who do you make those decisions with? Next month we're going to talk about, now that we've seen we have an issue and we're making decisions, we called Firestorm, we got our crisis stop program going on, how do we craft messages, not for the short term, but for year after year after year. You know, I want to make a comment on some things I saw yesterday, and I saw the same things when I saw the first tweet that came out of the shooting in Chardon, Ohio, and yesterday was very reminiscent of that. And the thing that bothered me most was, how are we training kids when someone shoves a microphone in their face? We had children in lockdown that were tweeting to CNN and tweeting to other media outlets. We had a student almost release the name of someone they saw shot before family had been notified. I bring that up not to blame the students in any way, but to say a year from now, on the anniversary of this shooting, that tape is going to be played. It's going to be played on the 5-year anniversary, on the 10-year anniversary. It's going to live with that student for the rest of their lives. And we have to be more aware and able to train students in our care. We train them about so many other things that are life decisions. And this is one of those, sadly, that we really have to address. and it's very difficult to keep the media away. We're also compromising the safety of children in lockdown, in a shelter-in-place situation, to be broadcasting their geolocation by using social media is a very dangerous activity. So there's a lot involved in this. It's a very complex situation, and we do need to be aware of what the issues are. So through Intelligent Solutions, we can talk about these things, and we combine leading tools and best practices with highly seasoned practitioners, again, trained by the Secret Service. And we're able to identify what's being said out there in a broad world, and not just social, but traditional and new media websites, and then utilize threat assessment criteria to determine what potential threats there may be to an individual or an organization. Once we identify an elevated alert, we can then integrate with your security and crisis management solutions already in place and support the continued development of your internal program, because we know we don't just buy a binder and say, okay, we have a program, right? It's a continuing organic process of learning and education. It's a continuous training program. We also have to constantly modify the risk profile we create for you. With every new student body, every new group of educators, that changes slightly, doesn't it? You may renovate your facility. You may have construction processes. We bring in our Secret Service people who help you from the ground up with your designer implement better, newer, and more advanced security solutions. So it's an evolving program. We're going to support threat assessments. How do we do those? What's the best-in-class way to conduct a threat assessment? And then what are our escalation protocols based upon the new or evolving face of our program? And I just accidentally went the wrong way on my slide deck. So with these intelligence solutions, at its highest level, what we do is we create a risk profile based upon the criteria that we just discussed. And in that risk profile, we then give contextual analysis to what we're seeing. So we throw a broad net out into the media world, both social, traditional, and new media. And we have to take into consideration certain words or phrases that may not be indicative of a threat. Our teams understand when a group of kids on Twitter is discussing an act of violence, but it actually relates to World of Warcraft or some other first-person shooter game that they may be playing at the time. We understand when vague threats may actually in context be the lyrics to a song that's very popular. So we're able to then observe and report to you, and along with that, we do something that's very important. We create a threat alert workflow design where we are able to help you understand if this type of a threat bubbles up, who should be alerted immediately through the application. How does this escalation work? And within the application, you can interact with the messaging, assign it to someone else, make comments on it, or interact with it. Yes, excuse me, Roxanne, the wonder dog, is with me in my office, and she has decided that she would like me to let her outside, and so I'm going to do that so we don't have to listen to her bark. Next, we observe and report, and after an event or a crisis event, we'll do a hot wash so that we can understand what we did right, what we need to improve, what other tools maybe have evolved since the time we implemented something, and how do we make ourselves better. I'm going to reference both of these tools as we move forward today in their context, but at a very high level, one of the first tools that we use is a tool on insights. This is our broad listening net. And this tool was actually voted best in class in 2017 by Forrester. Through this, we are able to implement keyword and key phrase analysis and are able to set up the ability through a stream of information to look for certain phrases, maybe that couple with your school name, your street name, your road, a specific landmark near your facility, so that we can really listen to the broad information coming through. We have a workflow and a dashboard design tool that allows us to create sensible escalation workflows and also includes things that are very important, like something called a burst alert. That means that, let's say, on a normal week, your school gets 12 mentions, and they're all related to sports. Let's say right now they're related to basketball. We can help you understand that, whoa, suddenly, instead of 60 messages per month, you just received 60 mentions in 2 minutes. We'll get a special alert that says something's going on, we think you need to look at this. And that allows us to see if for some reason our school name, one of our teachers, anything we're looking for is suddenly being mentioned in a context, whether for good or bad, we're going to be able to see it happening. We're going to be able to allow you to interact with it. And we source not just through Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, but anything that has social chatter, discussion boards, Tumblr, blogging, even those things that we can craft our own custom RSS feed for, sometimes Yelp in certain instances, other school review websites, things like that. We can have a broad listening ear. And then when we need to look at specific instances, we can narrow it down to look at a specific person or persons. Many of you have heard me talk about an instance a couple of years ago where I saw, before the school day started, someone say, I'm going to bring my gun to school today. And it was an anonymous account. But by using one of the tools in this application that allows me to do something called a social graph, I was able to look at the person's account, all of the people that were connected to it that were real people, not people that were celebrities or musicians or other types of accounts, but just real people. And it turned out that they were all within about a 3-mile radius of a specific school. And we contacted that school, and indeed, that student was arrested for having a weapon and posted on social media that they had shaken down their locker and found their clip as well. Would you like to be able to have that kind of power, to be able to observe a threat and mitigate it before anything happens? So we can look at these through images. I can scan these images quickly and see if there's something that looks like a threat. And I can look at it in this type of a geo-fence activity area that really lets me know where in my property these messages are coming from. The reason you see all of these messages clustered in a circle, normally we'd see some messages over on the right and over to the left and other buildings, but this is because this was specifically designed for a football game. And the school asked us to please keep an eye out on a Friday night light kind of thing. They were having a rivalry, and actually some parents were threatening each other in a pretty violent way. So we were watching for them to make sure there was no violence occurring at the event. You can use this for parades, for other special events. It's a pretty impressive tool. So what I want to do right now with you today is we're going to take about the next 15 minutes and we're going to unroll a crisis together. We're going to play it out as if it really were happening to us right now. And I'll tell you what, you and I both know at 11 o'clock you have something to do today, or at noon you have something to do today. You might be running to the dentist. You might be running an errand for your own children. You might be helping prepare the gym for a basketball game. You have things to do. You might have a meeting with your head of school. You may be the head of school and have a meeting with your team. But you are a school and you have a number of students. You're sitting where you are right now, and I want you to base your response on whether you have any regular monitoring, access to any kind of regular monitoring right now, maybe for marketing efforts. I also want you to think about if you have any monitoring set up to assist you in identifying behaviors of concern. What tools do you use to do that? So get ready, think about those things. If you have a piece of paper or if you use your phone to take notes or some other electronic device to take notes, be ready to do that because you're going to have some follow-up activities you're going to want to take care of after this. We're going to unroll the scenario now. You are suddenly alerted to a Twitter post. It surfaces with the hashtag #MeToo. We know that #MeToo is being used by people, both men and women, to report that they too have been a victim of sexual harassment of some kind. So you're alerted to a post that surfaces with that hashtag, but it is coupled with your school's name. You see one, and then suddenly you see numerous ones that your school's name is being mentioned, and it's got that #MeToo hashtag. You click into the original post, but you see that the account is anonymous. It's just random girl. And it says "Me Too" by a teacher at, and it names your school in your state. And then it says, "No one will help me." You have a potential victim in your school and a potential criminal activity. It could be a hoax. It could be real. How do you know? So what do you do next? What do you do right now after you've seen this? What's your first step? Make a note of it. Who do you inform? Do you already have that planned out, exactly who you talk to about this? Are you the person other people talk to? What do you do with this information? What are the next steps in monitoring? What are you looking for? You can't use the #MeToo hashtag. The first instinct of so many people is, well, let me just put the #MeToo hashtag in and see what happens. I'll tell you what happens. You get 62 million results. Do you have any way of knowing how many people have seen this message and might be discussing it? Not only that, but do you have any way of knowing who owns the account? You have a potential victim. We need to identify if this is a call for help, how we can get this person help. And I just did it again. Sorry about that. So the first thing we're going to use is we're going to use our broad search tool, our broad insights tool. We're going to do a very finely tuned keyword and key phrase analysis. We understand they're using not the name of your school, but the hashtag of your school. That's important because it's phrased in a different way. The phraseology that the person uses, we're going to use that too. We're not going to use the #MeToo hashtag because it's going to give us too much noise. So instead, we're going to craft a really tight sort of search to help give you a feel for where other comments are coming from. We're going to look at the commenting that goes along with the actual post itself. We're going to see who's interacting with it. We're going to see if there are specific names. And knowing what we do in our experience with students in this type of activity, quite often we'll see a comment coming back to the account that says, "Oh, Sally, I'm so sorry for what you're going through," because these are personal friends of this person. And then you're that much closer to understanding it's someone named Sally who's a member of your student body. And that helps you identify how you can get someone help if help is indeed needed. We also allow you through this tool, you can interact with the information. So if you then need to escalate it to a liaison officer or someone else within your organization, you can bring them into the conversation in real time, not minutes later or hours later, real time as it's ongoing. We're at phase 2. So you've tried to figure out, you've had about 3 minutes. You've tried to figure out, okay, I've got an anonymous post out there. I need to assign this to somebody to do a little bit more research. But meanwhile, out of your control, is a parent has seen this post on Twitter and has shared it on Facebook. And in it, he is railing against the school on some other subject that has nothing to do with this, but he has decided to use this in order to vent. You have a part-time volunteer person who manages the school Facebook page. And normally they're posting about things like football games and awards the school and students have won. And suddenly people are coming to the page and saying, what's this? I hear there's a pedophile on your staff. What's going on? So this part-time person interacts with the people who are railing against you on your own Facebook page and gets freaked out because now they're starting to rail against her because she's not trained to handle this. And they're even using her personal page to give her threats and angry messages. So what does she do? She shuts off commenting on the Facebook page, and that just totally enrages the community because they want to be able to interact with the school, and she's just shut down that ability. The door was open, and now it's closed, and that inflames the situation. She's freaked out, and you suddenly receive simultaneous calls from her asking what to do. She's crying. You've got 3 parents calling you and saying, what is going on over there? And the director of your religious services is getting complaints from her side or his side of the organization and wants to know what's going on and how can he help. Okay, what do you do now? Are you in control? Do you have any control of this situation? Do you have a team trained and ready to assist you with this issue? Or are you the team? We understand that all of this requires bandwidth. And so you have to think these issues through appropriately, early, so that you can plan. Do you know how to access the school's Facebook page? If you're in a leadership position, you should. You should be 3 or 4 deep on that with very specific rules about how to use it. Do you know when the passwords change on those accounts? Do you have a secure, regular way of communicating that information? If you had to go on your Twitter account right now and post a message, you personally, could you do it? Do you know who could do it? How long from the time you ask for the message to be posted until it is posted? Do you have any communication pre-prepared? We know when we have a snow day, we know how we can put information out. If it's icy in Tennessee, we know how we can let people know. But how about if there's another situation occurring and people need more information, they want information? Should we communicate about it at all? That's the challenge here. What happens if you have a rogue person in your organization who says, well, I'm going to take care of it, and they issue a memo? They write a memo and they send it to all parents, all students, and they say, hey, you people, stop sharing this information. We don't know if it's true. What happens to that broad memo that was not authorized? I'll tell you, first of all, it's going to go to the local news station. Somebody's going to share that internal memo. How would you know? How would you even know it went out? And how can you identify the alleged victim and get them help? Because at the bottom of this crisis, every crisis is a human crisis. How do we help that person? And the 250 people commenting and the 146 people who reshared it and the 112 people who favored it, which by now has tripled. That traffic has tripled. By using the other tool that we have, we can more closely analyze and take a deeper dive into publicly sourced information. Please understand this is publicly sourced information. We're not looking at somebody's private Snapchat. We can't. This is just publicly aggregated data. But we can create the social graph. We can look with a broad, quick view at all of the images or connections on a specific account, because it's just bits and bytes of data. So all we're going to do is we're going to grab all the data and then we're going to organize it in a logical way that we can visually analyze quickly to get you more data than you had to analyze the situation. We can set up a geo-fence around your organization, around your facility, your school, the parking lot, so that you can at least see how much chatter is coming from your own organization about this situation. And if we need to, we can do a deeper people search based upon a small amount of information. Something like a part of an email address, a username. We can take Random Girl's username and do a broad search on it and surface other accounts and information that help us understand who this person might be that needs help. Suddenly, within the last 10 minutes of everyone posting all of this information, a specific teacher's name surfaces in a social media post. We don't know if it's related to this situation at all, because in the way of social media and the way things fly by so quickly, innocent people are oftentimes named and become victims of attacks because of false information. During the Boston bombing, 2 people were named as potential suspects by the community of Reddit, R-E-D-D-I-T. The Reddit community fancies themselves quite often as the private detectives of the internet. Frankly, they have been effective. However, in this case, they misidentified 2 people, and one of those people was attacked. So in this situation, a teacher is named. The name starts floating around, and somebody else starts a rumor that there are images floating around some private apps like Snapchat. The parents on that Facebook post get wind of this, and they're organizing now. They're going to go to that teacher's house tonight and demand answers. The poor teacher doesn't even know any of this is going on. And one parent in particular is copying the local news station on all activity. Every comment she makes on Facebook, she's saying at local TV station, at local newspaper. Well, the local news loves it. It was a slow news day, and they need something to talk about. And so you receive a call from the local news station saying, hey, we're going to publish this story at 6 o'clock tonight. You want to comment on air? And you look out your window, and at the periphery of your property, there's a news truck waiting for you to get into your car and try to leave that day. Now what do? Are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you have a plan? You going to talk to the media? Have you been trained in speaking to the media? How often have we seen someone in a leadership position, trained in public speaking, misunderstand that that doesn't mean that they are trained to speak to the media in the middle of a crisis situation? It's very different when you're under stress, you don't have information, you're not sure what you're saying is correct. Why would you talk to the media at all? Maybe because you have parents or a board or someone else saying to you, hey, we got to get out in front of this. You need to go out and talk to those people and shut this down. Don't let your first response to a crisis become the secondary crisis. In a crisis, information you learn is generally wrong. First 24 hours, you don't know what's true. Data is not available in order for you to make good decisions because you're a trained professional. And trained professionals make decisions based upon information, data to support that information, and policies and procedures in place for once we have the information, right? That's how we run organized organizations. But in this case, the information's wrong, the data is not available, and the policies don't exist. And that results in you losing command and control. And your brand and reputation are under attack. The leadership, senior people, parents, everybody, they're involved personally. And the impacts are disproportionate to the event. Meanwhile, the event's escalating, getting worse. It's becoming a tornado of bad data. And speed in taking action suddenly becomes quality, even survival for your organization. And you, your brand, your school are the center of immediate focus. And intelligence becomes critical to these decisions. Remember, we're going to have a risk profile. We're going to create context for the language that we see. We're going to create an intelligent threat alert and workflow design for you to have an organized escalation process. We're going to observe and report, and you're going to call us and say, I need to activate my crisis stop. I've got a crisis. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. What do I do next? And we're going to walk you through those next steps. And when it's all over, we're going to do a hot wash. We're going to say, this is what we did right. This is what we could do better next time. These are the people we had in place. Maybe this person's going to be better in this role next time. We're going to help you adjust and learn so that it is an organic learning experience. We're going to help you understand when a crisis occurs. Is it guarded? Does it mean we're just supposed to watch what's going on? Is it elevated? Does that mean, oh, there's some intelligence threat monitoring we need to put in place here, a little higher level? Is it imminent? Does that mean it's driving up to your door in a second? Or is it severe? Is it on your property right now? Let's grab it when it's guarded. Shut it down when it's in that guarded and elevated area so we never get to those last two. You know, any of these tools, any tool you have, our behavioral risk threat assessment program, our predictive and protective intelligence programs, they're effective and integral to your strategy. But in the end, the effectiveness of these tools is tied to the human beings who are charged with them, right? We've always said a poor craftsman blames their tools. Let's not be poor craftspeople. Let's have the right tools and understand how to use them. And then designate the right teams that respond. Let's document and train on our action steps and be ready to implement immediately. Because without plans and procedures in place, these tools are just like the tools that gather dust in your garage. You can have the most expensive notification system in the world, but if you don't have pre-created messages, if you don't have the intelligence to back up what those messages say, what do you really have? So what's next? As I said, you can download a brief of today's session. I'll have that prepared for you at some point in time for next week. There are 2 documents that are attached to the GoToWebinar console dashboard tool widget, whatever that is on the right-hand side of your screen. And one of the documents looks like this. It talks a little bit about predictive intelligence. There's also an infographic you can share with your entire organization. Please contact us at webinars@Firestorm for either a self-guided threat assessment or we can, not a threat assessment, a self-guided assessment at no fee, or let us know you want to implement that crisis stop program, and we'll make sure that that happens as well. And you can register for next month's session at firestorm.com/events, and don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. Again, download these from your toolbar. There is a place for documents. And I'd like to thank, again, the Tennessee Association of Independent Schools. Without people like you helping keep our children safer, it wouldn't be possible to make sure our children are educated and protected. So thank you for all you do. Please reach out to us if we can help in any way. And this will end today's session. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great day, and goodbye.
Thank you, Karen.